And hey there, hi there, ho there, and a gracious good Saturday morning to you. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, where we discuss the joy and excitement of UofL women's athletics. Certainly had some very exciting things take place in the past week. We'll be covering with you, and some exciting things to come as well. So, should be a fun show today. We've got four on board today. Daryl is out watching babies again. Or I almost said washing babies. No, maybe well, she might be doing that too. I don't know. But we got a Case in the house, Jeff in the house, Jared in the house, and me, Paulie, to discuss the things that have happened in the past week. And as we kind of like to do at the start of the show, just kind of catch up with the guys a little bit, see how their week went. As Jared has told me that he has cornered the allergy market. So you might want to get some money down on that. Being unkind to you out there, is it, sir?
The drastic weather change has not been good for allergies, and lots of sneezing and coughing and mucinex and everything else going on right now. But powering through and ready for a nice chilly game tonight.
Yeah, and speaking of power, you finally got your internet up and running again, right?
Yes, the part for the thermostat finally arrived, so we're waiting on the technician to come over and get that installed sometime soon, which should hopefully help. But at least we have internet and cable, so that's a start.
It's a daily double. Good job, sir. Case Hoskins in the house with us. Case wrote the Saturday Cardinal Couple article today. Make sure and catch up with that when you get a chance as he discusses field hockey and volleyball from last night in there. And what else has been going on with you, Case?
Well, while I was in a bunch of meetings yesterday, I left or ended the meeting and checked my phone to see a text from my wife with a picture that just said "Oh no," and it was a picture of my first ever jury summons. So I get to perform my civic duty in about a month and a half.
Well,
It's Jefferson County Court, I'm assuming.
Shelby County Court.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're in Shelbyville. I don't know how they run theirs out there. I mean, I don't know how big a barn they've got to have to put everybody in one of those. But no, I can tell you with the Jefferson County experiences are always take a book, find somebody interesting to talk to because they are that boring. But
I
glad you're doing
mostly
your civic duty, sir.
I mostly worked when I did mine. I've only been once, and like basically it was 2 weeks of me working from the jury room.
I thought you
Yeah,
weren't allowed to have like internet.
Yeah, you can write it.
Oh well, shoot.
they changed
I'll
that.
I'll probably be
Well,
working.
again, this is Jefferson County versus Shelby County, so it may be
Well,
different. But
that's true.
I mean, like, I don't know if they had Wi-Fi there, and if they did, it was awful. But I just tethered off my phone. I was able to
Ah,
work that way. So
well, we'll see in a month's time.
There was
I'll
a
go to
little,
my orientation and then have all the information.
yeah,
so it'll be case for the defense. All right. Some great stories on there. I hope they put you on a fun case that you can talk to us about. Case on the case. All right, I've already got my tagline. Jeff, you heard his melodic voice there just a second ago. Jeff in the house with us today. What's been going on in your world, sir?
yeah. I came off a 4-day weekend last weekend, which was nice. Had otherwise kind of back to so a 4-day work week this week, and yeah, it is what it is. After the show last week, I drove to Durham, North Carolina, which was kind of a fun road trip. Spent 2 hours of it watching volleyball, which was ostensibly the reason to go. But it was a road trip. It was fun. Yeah, it was fun. Just enjoying life as best I can in crazy land.
How was that fun, scenic drive down the West Virginia Turnpike?
It was gorgeous because the trees were just like not quite at peak colors.
Ooh,
So you had all the reds and yellows and oranges, but you also still had some of the green mixed in there. It was really very very beautiful. And then of course with my car, I actually get to kind of look around and enjoy it a little bit, which is nice. I came back through Knoxville just to kind of have some variety in the road trip, and a similar sort of experience in Western North Carolina through the Appalachians through there. So It was really beautiful out there, and this week I think there are even more vibrant colors out there. So yeah,
They drive pretty crazy on I-40, so I'm glad you made it back okay.
yeah.
That's for sure. I think it's our version of the Autobahn here in the United States, from what I remember.
Yep.
As for myself, a very eventful week for me. I went in and had a little outpatient surgery done yesterday. And you never just show up and have the surgery. You have to go in for pre-admission testing a couple of days before, which is basically stupid and a waste of time. AMA. You don't really need to bring me in there to ask me questions about, oh, I understand you hurt your ankle back in 1972. Does it still hurt? No, I cut that leg off. Everything's fine. But it was interesting. They gave me the experience of putting a block on my arm, which basically you cannot feel anything when they put a block on your arm. That was fun, as I decided to try and scratch my nose and couldn't figure out how to raise my left hand to do it. But still feeling a little bit of the effects of the anesthesia, so if I'm sounding
I was gonna
like
say
a
we
40,
should note this up front that
yes, make sure that this is out there in triplicate and signed by all negotiated parties. Paulie's not quite up to his normal
there's,
mediocre game today.
there's a reason this week that Paul will sound out of it as
There
opposed
is,
to normal weeks.
I'm a 45 record being played at 33 today. So there we have it. So the boys will be carrying the show, and I'll be saying a lot of, oh, that's great. How about this? Yeah, very good. But we will, nevertheless, forge on with it. And it's about the time of the show where we get Case to do his scheduling and Twitter information for us. Should be some fun stuff in there to carry us through the next few minutes. So go ahead and step up to the plate, Case, and put one over the fence, pal.
Yeah, you got it. The schedule is getting a little bit thin as we're just in the inflection point between postseason for some fall sports and the winter sports really getting going. Women's tennis is at the John Cade Invitational hosted by Mississippi State. That started yesterday and it'll go through Sunday. Tonight, football takes on Clemson. That's at 7:30 in Cardinal Stadium, and it'll be on the ACC network. Tomorrow, volleyball taking on North Carolina as they stay in the Tar Heel State for the third straight match. That one is at 1 p.m. and it'll be on ACC Network Extra. Men's soccer hosts Notre Dame in the ACC tournament. That's at 6 p.m. tomorrow in Lynn Stadium. That'll be on the ACC Network as well. Monday, everybody's off. Tuesday, men's basketball starts their regular season as they take on Southern at 9 p.m. on Tuesday night. It'll be on RSN, so have fun with all of that. Wednesday and Thursday, everyone is off. Friday, cross country starts the Southeast Regional for the NCAA tournaments. They are hosting those at EP Tom Sawyer Park. Actually, as it starts, that's a one-day event. So Friday, if you find yourself over at Tom Sawyer Park, hopefully they've got good weather. You'll see a whole bunch of cross country teams from the Southeast region.
Oh, I've got that day off. I'm gonna head out there.
There you go.
On your jogging suit and have some fun, Jeff.
Or
I won't be running.
Alternatively, Jeff, you could pack up your car again after you get off work on Thursday and head to Sioux Falls, South Dakota for the women's basketball opener against.
Don't see that happening.
I think you should use the car to pace the runners at Sawyer Park. That would be fun because you wouldn't be putting out any obnoxious gas emissions. You know?
True.
I like the idea. I'm calling Vince as soon as we get off the phone.
It's a lot shorter drive over to Westport Road.
Yeah,
indeed.
Sure. Women's basketball taking on Arizona. Like I mentioned, that one's in Sioux Falls. No video listed for some reason, but surely we will find out a viewing partner for that sometime before next Friday.
Nick
Women,
assured me at the game the other night, Case, that it would be on some type of linear platform to watch.
gotcha.
He,
So,
he wasn't sure which one it would be yet, and they may not even know yet. Let's just hope to hell it isn't ESPN Plus. But anyway,
yeah. Volleyball has their next big match taking on Georgia Tech. They will host the
Right.
Techsters at 7 p.m. in L&N Federal Credit Union Arena. That one presumably will be on ACC Network or ACC Network Extra, but it is also not listed.
Georgia
And
Tech number 13 in the rankings now. I
yeah,
think. Yeah.
they get a
I've
boost.
seen
They
them
were
as high as 8th in some polls too, right?
Yeah. I mostly look at AVCA coaches poll, but yeah, I think they ended up higher in the initial tournament selection top 10 preview thing, but they're
Definitely no one to take lightly, yes.
14th in the AVCA right now. So yep, they're a good team. Very good team.
And then men's basketball will take on Furman at 7 p.m. That one's in the KFC Yum Center and is on ACC Network Extra. Finally, because it'll impact the show, so we'll have to figure out what we're going to do next week. Football is taking on Syracuse. That one is currently listed as TBA, but I believe that was officially announced as a noon kickoff
It was
next
indeed,
week.
sir.
It is noon, and UofL confirmed that Lamar Jackson will be in the house for his
Nice.
jersey retirement since it's their bye week.
Nice.
I'm sure that was not intended or scheduled in any way whatsoever for
To
that
be against
being when they
Syracuse.
would do the. No, I mean I just meant the bye week being when
Yeah.
they do the jersey retirement.
Yeah.
I was like, "Those." At least they thought ahead on that part and like, what day can we get Lamar to actually come out here and get the crowd to come back out?
Yeah.
I
Unlike
mean, they really need to show him hurdling that Syracuse defender on the jumbotron when they do it.
Oh, I'm gonna enjoy it.
I hope he's still on the team.
Yeah.
I mean, I doubt he is. Like 3 or 4 years
This
ago.
is a
But
while ago, yeah.
I just hope he shows up and they don't send a replacement, like Dave Ragone or someone like that. Say, "Hey, I'm here for Lamar, y'all. How you doing?" Yeah, he was what a joy he was for Louisville football, guys. Wow.
as we talk about all the things that aren't quite announced yet, one way to keep up with those announcements, like from women's basketball and volleyball, about where those games will be showed, is their Twitter accounts, which you can find on the right side of the Cardinal Couple website with the Cardinal Couple Twitter list. As for us, I tweet is at best case scenario, BST case scenario. Paulie is at Cardinal Couple. Jeff is at Card Couple Radio and at Jeff McAdams. And Jared is at Mr. Anderson Jared. Kind of a little turnaround. Daryl is at Daryl Faust 4, who you can follow for all of her tweets about the baby watching or washing or whichever.
Or the baby could be washing her. You never know. It could be an interesting scenario. But yeah, check us out on Twitter. I usually do a lot of tweeting from basketball, as I did in our encounter with Union the other night. And the other guys jump in there as well with their tweets. Jared comes up with some fun and interesting tweets sometimes as well. So make sure and follow along and make a comment on them. Say, yeah, hey, what happened? What's this, Paulie? We love to hear from you. We do indeed. Unless your initials are EH, and then we don't. But guys, looking at it here, we've got quite the slate of events here. And I guess we'll get into volleyball a little later in the show because I know Jeff was already bouncing off the net in his living room getting ready to talk about that. But we'll see if we can maybe side out Jeff and have him go chase the ball and come back later. But let's go ahead and start it out with field hockey, as field hockey was in the ACC semifinals up in Syracuse, as they ended up playing the winner of the Virginia Boston College game the day before. Virginia, actually a 5 seed, beat the 4 seed Boston College squad to advance to play the Cards. And I'll admit it, I kind of looked at this one and said, we're going to blow by them, no problem. Well, it didn't happen. Unfortunately, the Cards took this thing about as far as you can take a field hockey game through regulation, through 2 overtime periods, and it came down to penalty strokes. But Louisville ended up losing the contest on penalty strokes to the very talented Cavaliers from Virginia. Case had the write up on this, saying a disappointment, yes, Case, but also some interesting moves that Justine Sowry made in this contest as well.
Yeah, this was, I think, set to be a tough match. We talked a little bit about it, and while we could have hoped for a blow by, we had seen Louisville play both Boston College and Virginia close earlier this season. Virginia, that was a 1-0 win for Louisville. So in this one, Virginia once again held Louisville to just one goal. Unfortunately, Louisville was not able to hold the Cavaliers to 0 goals like they did in the previous, and this was a little bit of an unfortunate showing from the Cards, who in recent matches, even if they've been a little bit unlucky in front of goal or unable to find some finishing attacks, they've come out pretty much at the start of every quarter with commanding presence. And Virginia in the first half, both first and second quarters, was really just the controller of the ball for the majority of those. Louisville did a lot of work in the third and the beginning of the fourth, and then had to hang on for dear life when Virginia just put up an absolute barrage with 7 shots in the last 9 minutes of the fourth quarter. Like you said, they went to overtime. They couldn't get anything done there. They went to double overtime where everyone did literally nothing. There were no stats or no plays recorded in the play-by-play. And then they went to the overtime shootout where, for some reason, like you mentioned, a really unusual choice from Coach Sowry. She pulled Mila de Kaiser from the goal, put in Maitland Demond, who has not played in goal this season, who is not listed as a goalkeeper on the roster, but has been playing has been dressing as the emergency goalkeeper in Sam Minrat's absence. But that she put her in. I don't know if it was de Kaiser's decision based on how she was feeling after the earlier penalty stroke that gave Virginia the lead, or what happened there. But Damon got 1 save, which was the same number as Virginia got in the opening round. And then, unfortunately, Louisville just missed their 6th shot, the first of the sudden death period, and Virginia didn't. So that was that.
Yeah, kind of an interesting move by Coach Sowry, who it brings maybe Jared to me 3 possible scenarios here. Either DeKyra had hurt her back earlier in the game and just wasn't quite feeling up to snuff on basically taking that one-on-one position against the Virginia attackers. It could have been a thing where Sowry saw something in the way that Maitland Demand does well on those one-on-one situations. Or maybe Sauer just decided, hey, I'm going to roll the dice and see if I can throw them off a little bit by throwing a girl back in between the posts that they've never seen before. What say you, Jared? I thought it was a very, very interesting move.
I'm actually thinking it's more one of those that when you have your normal practices throughout the week, you've got your main goalkeeper, DeKyre, who's probably working with your first team players and just getting the normal reps. And you probably have, and I'm not sure if it's pronounced demand or demand, as they don't have a pronunciation guide listed, but she's probably off on the side and may just be the focus on if you come to a penalty shootout. And sometimes you'll see that with different teams and occasionally with soccer at different levels where you may have a different keeper come in just for a penalty kick, or if you come into the shootout at the end. So I'm thinking it probably went more that route more than anything, but I mean it could have been uh, different several things. Mia maybe being a little worn down from the extended match, or still that nagging injury, or maybe just not comfortable and ready to be out there for the shootout there at the end. So there's several possibilities, but I'm thinking it's going to be related more to one focuses on one thing during practice and another focuses on another.
A question that I perhaps down the road may ask of Coach Sowry. I'll be prepared for whatever answer she provides, and will certainly take body armor. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, an interesting decision by her to go with penalty in there with somebody who hasn't been doing that throughout the season. This one was a game where Virginia scored earlier on a penalty stroke. Got a nice opportunity in the second quarter and was awarded a penalty stroke, saying that Julie Cowheiser's defensive save was illegal. So, thus the penalty stroke awarded to them. They did score on it. They went into the half leading 1-0. The Cards, Jeff, they tried to battle back in this thing. They just couldn't seem to get on there though. But with 9 minutes to go, they were able to get thing rolling just a little bit and ended up getting a goal. And it's just you're hoping to see a little more offense out of Louisville, but certainly this is a Virginia team that played us well in the regular season, guys. Let's not forget that we beat them 1-0 on our turf. So playing them on a neutral court, you really know. But I'm a little disappointed in the effort, Jeff.
I you can talk about not generating offense, but you also have to credit the defense of the other team in that, in that they are able to prevent that offense sometimes from bringing. So I mean, it takes a little more subtlety, I think, of analysis sometimes to really have a good sense of that. We'll note this is the first game that we've had this season that went to shootout. So the choice of putting in a different goalkeeper for the shootout is this is the first time we've seen that. That may have been her plan all year, Coach Sowery. So, obviously, sometimes this team has shown that they struggle to generate offense, which is frustrating. They have traditionally, for the past few years, struggled with corners, penalty corners. And, I commented in our group chat about, I think it was right after the goal that we made with like 9 minutes left and we had another penalty corner and it was just, it didn't even get a shot off. So that's frustrating to see. Some things like that. So, from the sounds of it, Coach Sowery wasn't super thrilled with what went on in the game. And I understand that. You look at this, you figure out what you did wrong, and you move forward. The big prize is still ahead in the NCAA tournament. I think it is 18 teams again this year. So, UofL will pretty much without question get in it. But what are we going to be able to do with it is the bigger question.
That is the big question. It was the Cards' first overtime loss of the season. They were previously 6-0 in overtimes, and it was also the end of a 5-game winning streak for Louisville. So the question now turns, and we all gaze our eyes ahead to Sunday, tomorrow night late, about 10 p.m. or so, when Louisville will find out their fate in the NCAA tournament. This will be shown live on ncaa.com in case you want to follow along and see where the Cards end up getting ranked and whether they'll be at the friendly confines of Traeger or whether they'll have to go on to the road. Jared, I definitely think we're in. I definitely think we'll host the first round, but after that, the question is kind of unclear to me.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really form an argument to not put UofL in at this point. Looking at their record, and it's been like 75% ranked teams, and in the regular season, your only two losses were number 1 and number 2. You didn't have any bad losses, and then you lose in the ACC tournament semifinals, but you lose to another team who's ranked in the top 15, who is also more than likely going to be in the tournament at this point as well. So it's not about will they make it. It's going to be more about where will they be seated. And they're still kind of borderline if they're going to be one of those teams that gets to host. I forget how many teams do get to host their opening match in the tournament. But you saw with the Big Ten owning the other top 5 of the 6 spots in the rankings. Right now, Michigan beat Iowa in the semifinals. So that was number 2 beat number 1, and then number 3 Rutgers is also going to be in the championship. But number 5 and number 6 Northwestern and Maryland both lost in the quarterfinals opening round of the Big Ten tournament. So they didn't do themselves any favors. So it's kind of hard to want to bump either of those teams up above U of L at this point. So I think the Cards are at least going to stay at number 4. I can't really see them dropping in the rankings, so they should host based off of just how everything else is playing out as well.
It poses an interesting dilemma for the NCAA because, as you mentioned, 5 of the 6 top teams in the rankings are all Big Ten oriented. Do you take all 5 of those in there? I don't know. That seems to be overstacking from one particular conference case, but then how do you turn around and tell a team, well, you're 6th in the nation, but we don't have any room for you in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, well, it's tough because you're going to take. I don't recall exactly. I've been trying to dig into the
You have
NCAA
10
site.
automatic qualifiers and 8 at-large bids, if that helps you out.
Yes. Okay. So that's what I was trying to find was the quantity of teams, and the quantity of automatic qualifiers. So, you're going to get an ACC champion in there. So, and then you're going to get Louisville in. Louisville's going to get in as not the ACC tournament champion. I mean, at 16-3 and 6-0 in the ACC in the regular season. If they don't get in, that would be pretty insane. But so that's one of the at-large bids right there, and then you've got 7 left. Could 5 of them be Big Ten? I mean, yeah, probably. You've seen in the past when almost all of the ACC's field hockey slate makes it into the tournament. So I don't think that.
There have been years that the whole ACC slate was in the tournament.
Right. I don't think
Yeah.
that the NCAA selection committee for field hockey and for some of the other non-revenue sports in particular have any qualms about putting in the teams that they think are the best, regardless of conference affiliation, which I think is the right way to do it. Obviously, that's not the way that it works in the revenue sports for various reasons, money being the most primary one. But in the non-revenue sports, I think they're as fair as they can be with a selection process and automatic qualifying. So I think that sure you could get that many teams in.
I don't see the ACC getting more than 4, and that's if Virginia wins tomorrow.
And that was going to be my next question. Yeah. On that, how many do we get in out of the ACC, Jeff? I'm coming up with 3. Am I a little bit short here? I'm thinking whoever wins the ACC tournament gets in. Certainly no problem. They'll be one of them. Will be one of them. And then comes the question, okay, Syracuse probably if they don't win the whole thing. Virginia if they don't win the whole thing. But then what do you do with UNC?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm thinking because like UNC is sitting at 4-2 also with Syracuse. And gosh, I don't know. There's just this tournament I think needs to be bigger. But
I've always wondered about the number 18. Why? It's such a
yeah,
totally unbracketable type number.
Well, UNC can still get the automatic qualifier if they beat Virginia tomorrow.
Yep.
Since they upset Syracuse, which I think, honestly, with Syracuse being the host and then Syracuse losing 4-1 yesterday, I'm going to have to put that as the biggest upset of the ACC tournament just due to the 3-goal differential.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Jeff said, you got to put Syracuse in at this point. They're 12-4 in the regular season, number 9. They received one of the first place votes in the most recent coaches poll.
Yeah.
I think that the committee is more likely to go by the RPI than the coaches poll. I mean, the RPI for them is their developed system. It's quite fair in most of the sports, the way that they've got it created and the way it formulates things. And the RPI has 5 Big Ten teams to open it, starting with Rutgers. Louisville sits at 6. Then Northwestern at 7. North Carolina is the next highest ranked ACC team at 8. And then Syracuse is down at 11. Virginia all the way at 15. So they're almost certainly going to have to win the ACC to get in.
Boston College at 14. So.
Right. And they're Boston College to me is not going to get in with no chance to win.
Just
the
have a hard time putting them in there.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be one of those first 4 out. They're on the wrong side of it, and they needed to win their game in the opening round of the ACC tournament against Virginia.
Yeah, if you consider that the top 6 Big Ten teams are going to get in, and if North Carolina doesn't win today, or whether they play today or tomorrow, if they don't win the ACC, they're probably still going to get in. You're down to only a couple of bids left, and
Yeah.
there's some other leagues that are going to have an argument to get more than one team in. So,
Right. And that's
it's
where
going to be
the
tough.
Big East championship game tomorrow is going to be one to keep an eye out for, because you have Liberty, who's number 9 in the RPI, and they're top number 8 in the coaches poll. So they'd be your argument for a Big East
Absolutely.
Do we know
invite.
who
But
they're
if
who
they
they
lose
playing?
to UConn, who
Is it
was
UConn?
second in the Big East, I mean, UConn could get the automatic bid, and then Liberty is kind of one of those teams. It's like they've got one of the best RPIs in the country, and they've played as many ranked teams as we have, and it's kind of hard to win that many games. But they only lost 2 in the regular season. So, from an ACC standpoint, you want to see Liberty win, because it gives the ACC another opening slot
For
there,
at-large.
and just for at-large positions.
Because UConn's not getting
Yeah.
an at-large bid at 11 and 10.
Right,
No,
and the
but
Ivy
if they
League
have a
doesn't
real
have a
shot at
tournament.
getting the AQ, then
Right.
yeah. Ugh.
And
Right.
then what do you do with a team like James Madison that took the Cards to overtime? Louisville barely beating them 1-0. What do you do with the Princeton squad?
I mean,
Played
unless
the
they get
Cards earlier in the season though, Jeff, and it was
unless
3-2.
unless they get automatic qualifiers, I don't think James Madison is in. They're at 34th in the RPI.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Princeton's at 18th.
Princeton's at 18th, so that's a stretch. Depends upon, again, who gets the automatic qualifier.
Well,
Harvard also in the Ivy is at 10th.
Harvard got that already because the Ivy
Is it?
League is not playing a
They don't play a
tournament.
tournament. Yeah, okay. I hadn't looked, so
So you now kind of look at, I think Princeton's on the outside looking in as
Yeah.
well.
yeah, I agree with that.
All these things to be revealed Sunday night, 10 p.m. The NCAA comes up with their list of 18 that will take part in the NCAA tournament. Go Cards. Let's hope that we get a good draw in the first round, right?
Yeah, I'd love to host a game and get out to Trigger one more time this year.
It would be nice, wouldn't it, sir? Yes.
Yeah, get Paulie out to Trigger again.
Yeah, we certainly we know how to get in. We know where to sit, and we know some people there. So let's hope that can happen. But, let's go ahead and kind of leave the realm of field hockey. And Jeff, you can come back in now. You're serving. We're going to talk a little volleyball, as the Cards been playing some very, very good volleyball lately. They, of course, welcomed Jeff to come down and visit them in Duke at Durham.
Yeah.
And the Cards gave you a bit of run for your money there, didn't they, pal, with that 3-2 win sets?
3-1, but yeah, they did get the
3-1,
win.
you're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's that's all right. We know you're still on anesthesia, so
I got the team right.
yeah, that's right.
There we go.
That was a fun road trip. Like I was talking about earlier, I had never been to Cameron Indoor Stadium, so that was kind of cool to see that stadium, to see that arena.
It is neat, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was talking to somebody afterwards, and they asked what I thought of it, and I said, well, I won't say it's a good arena, and a lot of the things you look for in a high quality sports arena. It's lacking that. The audio is terrible because everything reverbs really badly. The seats are benches. There's a lot of things about it that don't have some of the nicer amenities that we look for in really nice arenas. But it is beyond question one of the iconic sports venues in this country, right? I mean, and it's worth it just to go see that. So I was glad to get the chance to do that. Yeah, versus Duke Cards came out, kind of saw some flaws there. We saw the game before that was against Pitt, and certainly Pitt showed some flaws. Duke kind of showed some of those flaws as well, so we got some things to work on. Had the week, and then played NC State last night and looked a lot better. But Duke did a pretty good job of scouting this UofL team and showing what you need to do to try to win against them. We're still able to get the win. There's just so much talent, so much power on the team. They're still able to get the win. But I think between Pitt and Duke, you had they really kind of laid out the roadmap for here's the best way to attack U of L on the volleyball floor. So yeah, it was interesting to watch.
I would have thought that you would have planned just like a 3-day trip down there and extended it into 2 weeks so you could go to the Carolinas as well.
Yeah, I actually kind of thought about it, and so Louisville's, in fact, volunteer assistant Linda Hampton Keith, who used to coach at NC State, did stay down there all week. Her family still lives there, so she was able to spend the week with them, which was wonderful. I'm glad they were able to do that. So, they kind of did do that in her case, but it was if I had really planned it well and taken a laptop or whatever, I might have been able to do it. But it just seemed like an awful lot for that. When part of the allure of doing it was the road trip aspect of it. So yeah, I did give it a moment's thought at least.
I got a chance to visit Cameron several years ago when the wife and I were down there in the area visiting relatives, and we're on campus. Beautiful Duke Forest down there and some other
Yeah,
very, very neat things on campus. But we walked up to Cameron, tried a side door, and walked right in like we own the place.
yeah.
Walked out to the basketball court, and there was a basketball laying over on the side. I said, Sonia, I've got to make a layup in Cameron. So I went over and picked up the ball, dribbled in, and on my third attempt, I finally made a layup. There you
Yeah.
go. Sonia plays tough defense. Don't ever think that she doesn't know.
Yeah, a friend of mine was down there as well. Works with the alumni association, and they had a big alumni event surrounding the NC State football game, and then going to Duke volleyball as well. So she was there for as well, and she turned to me at one point and says, Does this have kind of how like some of the decor and feel of a church to you?" And I was like, "Yes, both inside and out. When you look at it, right? Just the appearance of it."
Yeah.
Um,
And the
and
Duke
and I,
Chapel on campus is beautiful too.
yeah, I did not get a chance to visit that. But but then I also said, when you think about basketball in North Carolina and basketball in Kentucky, it's kind of appropriate that it's kind of church-like. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
So with one North Carolina trip win in hand, the Cards will try to extend that to 2 when they take on North Carolina
Mhm.
later on Sunday, sir. Sunday. Any thoughts about that one?
North Carolina is another team that I kind of don't know what to make of them sometimes. They've been doing fairly well. They're kind of mid-pack ACC this year. I haven't really looked at their schedule to kind of get a sense of what they're doing. They shouldn't really be a huge threat to this team again if we show up and we play the way that we know that we can play. Uh, we should win this, but we've shown that there can be some teams that can come out there and yeah, expose the chinks in the armor a little bit sometimes. So it may be another opportunity to do that. They're roughly equal with NC State as on schedule and rankings, so and records. So yeah, we'll see. It's a good warm up. The latter part of our schedule that we're diving into here is about to get pretty brutal. So it's good to have some competent teams to kind of warm up against here.
Claire Chaussee is on a roll right now,
Yeah,
Jared. Playing very, very well against the Wolfpack in Raleigh. 10 kills in the match last night. She's putting it down pretty well, isn't she, sir?
Yeah, especially as a senior, and we don't know if what her plans are, if she'll choose to come back for another year or not. So, sometimes is in your final lap, your victory lap, you just really want to go out and play as well as you can, and she's certainly done that. And I've just been a consistent player lately for us, and someone we can rely on if we get in a little bit of a tight squeeze and just need to get some momentum going back on our side again. So she's been one of those reliable players we've needed.
Always good to have those indeed. And the Cards, Kasem seem to have been having lately just maybe a little bit of trouble with third sets after the halftime break. That they ended up, of course, losing the third set to Duke. And then last night in the third set, 25-21. Yes, it was a W, but maybe a little closer than some thought there.
Yeah, that was the closest set of the three, not just because of the final score, but also because it was the latest that UNC or not UNC, NC State could get close. The other or before they pulled that one to 17-18, I believe it was. The closest they had gotten was in the first set. They drew back to 13-16 before Lowell ran away with it. So yeah, they brought it back to 17-18. They were on a pretty good run, but Louisville shut it down with a quick 6-2 run to give themselves 5 match point opportunities, which they eventually took on the third one. Took them a little longer than expected, but they were able to close that one out. And like you mentioned, Claire Chassé, good in this one last night. 10 kills doesn't sound like a lot, but it did lead the team. Her third straight match leading the team in kills. She also led the team in total blocks. Had one of the highest hitting percentages on the team. She's just been all over the place. And alongside her, Anna Stevenson still just holding things down in the middle. 2 aces, 3 blocks, 8 kills. And Anna DeBeer with a weird up and down night. She was third on the team in kills, tied for the team lead in aces, but also had team highs in both errors and service errors. So taking the good with the bad on that one.
Always take the good with the bad, but the Cards still remain undefeated on the season with that. And Jeff, a question that I know a lot of readers out there and people who talk to me about Louisville volleyball want the answer to this one. I'm going to go to you as the source who may know this. Aiden Bartlett and Robbie Bartlett. Is there a relation?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so
Aiden is from Kansas, I think. So I don't think there's any connection there.
so if we asked Aiden to sing "A Change Is Coming," she probably wouldn't. Okay,
I don't know. She might. I mean, I don't know. She might.
she
Be a
might
pretty
know the
decent
song.
singer. I don't know.
We're going to send you down on an investigative report
That's
to
right.
the Belknap campus.
Yeah.
You walk in and play the song for her and see if she starts snapping her fingers and singing along.
Yeah. I don't know. I probably start dancing. I mean, a lot of the players like to dance to the music. So
Especially Anna Stevenson. She's got some
yeah.
moves,
Then
doesn't she?
Ika Jones is well known
I,
for her dance moves.
I put Ike on probably number one on the team as far as dancing goes, right? Yeah, she's got a rolling. So volleyball keeps rolling as well. Doing a wonderful job.
Quick side note on that: the only other undefeated team is Texas in volleyball nationally. They played Baylor last night and swept
Which was
them,
a
but
fun match.
yeah, but they swept them, but it was very close sets. Baylor is ranked 11th, I think. They play again today, so this will be the other real opportunity for Texas to potentially take a loss, which would give us the opportunity to move up to the number 1 ranking in the country potentially. So keep an eye out on that one.
That window is open. Let's see if we can crawl into it.
Just before we leave volleyball, I was just looking at UNC's schedule, and there are a couple of weird schedule quirks that they have. So one, they played Duke on September 11th in the ACC Big Ten Challenge in a non-ACC match. So that's always fun when you have teams that are in the same conference playing in
and that was
conference matches.
Michigan State had to bail from it because of COVID.
Right. And then that's happening again today. UNC and Wake Forest are playing football in a non-conference game, or a non-conference game. And the other weird schedule quirk is between September 3rd and September 4th, UNC and NC State played all 3 of the same teams in different places.
Interesting.
They both hosted all 3 teams over the 2 days.
Yeah.
So short drives, to be sure, but still a little interesting quirk there. UNC.
Yeah, I suspect a lot of teams when they're scheduling one, they like to try to schedule the other just because of the proximity of them.
Who's in charge of that crazy schedule making with the ACC? My guess is it's either Aiden Bartlett or Robbie Bartlett.
These were non-conference the Colorado State, Wofford, and East Carolina, I think, is what you're seeing.
Yeah,
So,
but basically the ACC's got to kind of give their blessing on it and say, okay, oh, you're going to do that day. Well, we're not going to bring in Poughkeepsie University to play you, or you're not going to go back to back against Clemson. Okay, we got it. It's down. Because as you know, the ACC controls everything in this world, Jeff, including our broadcast. So
they do give a lot of leeway before conference, pretty much whatever leeway before conference starts. So,
we're
yeah,
going to see if we can get the ACC commissioner on here to explain to us what all they do someday. Maybe when I'm not here. No, it should be fun anyway. But great stuff on volleyball. Let's keep the streak going with maybe one eye open for Georgia Tech down the road. Yes, could be a fun one there.
yeah. Georgia Tech at Pitt also has to come. We go out there to
That's right.
close
We
out
have
the
to
season.
go to the Pete, or where they have it at the Fitzgerald. I wonder where
Yeah,
they'll have that
Fitzgerald.
one up there. Okay.
Fitzgerald, I believe. Yeah.
Fitzgerald is the Pitts, but anyway.
Yeah.
You like
Also,
what I did there?
yeah. Also, games against Notre Dame, 2 matches against Notre Dame, which is who knows who's going to show up for that, and then another matchup we host Duke. So that's the rest of the season for UofL volleyball.
Fun times ahead for the
Yep.
Cards. And some challenges. So let's see if they can continue to respond in the perfect fashion they have so far, record wise.
So how many more wins do you think the Cards need before they've locked up one of the top overall seeds where they host throughout?
Boy, that's the question of the
Oof.
day.
Yeah, it's not going to take too many losses to knock us out of that. So I think that maybe we could take one. If we take a loss against Pitt, I think we're probably okay.
With 6 games left,
But I think losing to anybody else could make that dicey.
I'm going to say a loss to Pitt or maybe even to Georgia Tech
Yeah,
could possibly dethrone us from that. But you never know about the NCAA. They shocked and surprised a lot of people when they put
Yeah.
us over
over
Texas.
Yeah,
Right, ideally, you just win them all and don't have
That's
to
right.
worry about losing. But sometimes,
yeah.
as
I
field
think we
hockey
could
goes, if you have to
lose.
lose,
Yeah, I think if we could lose to Pitt and still hang on to that, maybe even a loss to Georgia Tech, hang on to that. If we lose against Duke, I think we don't. I think we drop enough that we don't.
Winning solves a lot of problems, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's go ahead and leave the campus and let's go downtown to the KFC Yum Center, where Louisville played an exhibition game Thursday night against Union, who is from what state, guys? Tennessee. That's right, not Union, Kentucky.
Or
And
Union College in New York.
it wasn't them either, from what I could tell. But the Union Bulldogs came in out of scenic Jackson, Tennessee, to take on the Cards, a Union team that has done pretty well in Division II over the years. And then they came in ready to give the Cards a game, but the Cards said, "No, I don't think so. This is our exhibition. We're going to have some fun," with a 74-point win, 106-32. Jared Anderson was out there with me. As I got some of the best seats in the house, man. I was sitting right at half court enjoying that one, and Jared was down there taking photos. What say you, Jared, about this Cardinal team that played 13 players, and I couldn't find fault in any of them?
no. Well, first, it's just nice being back out there and not being alone for the first time in nearly 2 years on the court. So that part made it more enjoyable for me. But then just watching how midseason form the Cards looked already, and maybe that could be because we went up against a D2 school, but it was still a historically good D2 program. So I think maybe just the Cards are really, really good, and they seem to be having a lot of fun out there. You saw the transfers shined well, and some of your new faces stepped up and put on a good show. But I think just anybody who stepped foot on the court on Thursday, it exceeded expectations.
Boy, they sure did. As Jeff Wallace decided to start the game with a 4-guard lineup, putting Casa Robinson, Haley Van Lith, Kiana Smith, and Chelsea Hall out there, along with forward center Olivia Cochran, to begin the game. And they did pretty well as the Cards got the set to a 29-11 first quarter lead. And Keith, this team just seems to have a sense of confidence and also a sense of urgency. I mean, watching Olivia Cochran lead fast breaks and stuff, what in the Blue Blazes is going on here?
Yeah, I think that we've seen Jeff Walls over the last few years wanting to enjoy or wanting to employ, I should say, a more fast-paced offense. He's been playing a lot of small lineups, four guards. The roster construction really lent itself to that with as many talented guards as they've had on the team. That's going to continue, and when you're running that many guards in practice, then um, your bigs have to get a little bit more fleet of foot to keep up with the pace of the game as well. And so um, Cochran showing the ability to get out on the dribble is important, not just sprinting down court without the ball to be in a position to run a quick offense, but to be able to just, like you said, lead that fast break and get down there on our own is pretty critical for the way that Louisville wants to play a fast offense. And they gave up 11 points in the first quarter. Funny enough, that was the most points that they would give up in any quarter, which is not something you usually see in an exhibition when uh, some of the players a little further down the bench are getting some run late in the game. But yeah, like you mentioned, a 74-point win. This one was never really in doubt. I think from probably the moment that the Union players got on the bus to head up to the Yum Center, I think that they knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, following that first quarter, Louisville went on a 32-4 run in the second quarter and led this thing 61-18. They ended up winning the second half by the impressive score of 45-17. Jeff, I'm going to throw some numbers here at you and sit down while I'm throwing these at you because these are pretty amazing. Points in the paint, Card 60, Tennessee uh, Union 16. Points off turnover 49-4 in advantage of Louisville. And fast break points 18-0. Bench points 60-7. That's just some amazing numbers there.
Yeah, it really is. And honestly, despite how big and lopsided those numbers are, not all that surprising, really. I think I commented about the only thing surprising out of this game was that Union recruits from Papua New Guinea. Um, so I, they got two players on the roster, by the way, from Papua New Guinea. I think they're sisters. So anyway.
It's a great road trip.
Yeah. Gets a little wet.
And they have to play the promise game to the players.
They've
we're going to take you home your junior year, and you're going to play New Guinea University.
Yeah. They've only got 2,000 students at the whole school, so that's a high percentage of students to be from Papua New Guinea, much less players.
Right. Yeah, one of them was in the starting lineup. That's why I noticed it. Then I went and looked at the roster today. It's like, oh, there's two of them. Oh, they're sisters. Okay, yeah. But anyway, yeah. I mean, like those numbers are gaudy, and this is a little bit the type of thing you expect out of an early season exhibition game against a D2 team. This may have been a little bit more lopsided than I think is typical, but lopsided is kind of what you expect out of these. It's an opportunity for them to come in and play against a really good team and understand how that works and probably make some money off of it, honestly. But and it's a good warm up.
I think you could take probably out of that.
Yeah, well, yeah. But I know that's the case for like non-exhibition games. I wasn't sure about exhibition, but but I think you can look at this and you can say, and to borrow a little bit from what Jeff Walls talked about in the post game, we also learned some things here. We learned we need to deal with the backdoor cuts a little better than we did.
Maybe shooting a couple free throws might be.
Yeah, well, that too. Our free throw percentage is not great. We've got to. This wasn't without benefit for this team to see this. They exposed some things despite the lopsided numbers. So, everybody wins out of this. So,
Daryl Faust had the right on that. You can read that on the Friday Cardinal Couple, and I guess the only thing I need to talk to her about is doing a Fred report. But
Yeah,
since it is
forgot
an
about that.
exhibition game,
Yeah,
I'm
we
going
didn't
to
have
give her a
stats.
pass. I'll
Yeah.
give her a pass on it. Yeah, that'll be fine. Jared, obviously the starters did a great job, but we had, in my opinion, and I'll see if you agree with this, 3 players that came in off the bench who really gave us start-worthy performances, in my opinion. Liz Dixon going 7 for 10 from the floor, 15 points, 6 rebounds, and count them. Go ahead and count them. She had 3 steals. Liz with the Pilfers. Also, Peyton Verhulst came in, gave the Cards a really good almost 20 minutes, 4 for 8 from the field. She needs to work on the free throws. There's no doubt about that. But she did have 10 points. And then Emily Inksler. It's so good to see her in a Cardinal jersey instead of a Syracuse jersey, Jared. Gave the Cards a very solid 18 minutes, 3 for 5 from the floor, and had 6 rebounds too. So certainly was tickled with all 3 of them.
Yeah, Jeff Walls is gonna have a lot of trouble figuring out his starting 5 and his final 5 as the season progresses, just because you had so many players that proved themselves Thursday night. And you kind of want to go back and forth between Olivia Cochran and Liz Dixon on what you want to do with the post position there, because both of them are excellent players. But I think Haley Van Lith hit it pretty well during post game, where she just talked about the confidence in Liz has grown so much, and it's her final go around. This is kind of the do or die for Liz, what she wants to do here. So I mean, this is the time to step up if you're ever going to step up, and she really showed it last night. I think she's going to be a foe and a force to be reckoned with when we face other teams. That's going to be fun to watch, and I think we expected nothing less from Emily Engstler after watching her at Syracuse these past 4 years, and she definitely lived up to her hype. And Peyton Verhulst coming in as such a shining star as a freshman, and she showed that she's not afraid to shoot the ball early on and knock down those shots, and but also be able to go in and pull down the rebounds. The one thing with her shots is how much Jeff Walls will allow her to continue to shoot, as we've seen in the past, where we've had trigger happy players. Sometimes he's quick to shut them down, but also at the same time, if you're knocking the shots down, then sometimes you got to ride that hot hand and just let it go.
Yeah, sometimes you've got to have a little bit of discretion, but then other times, hey, if it's falling every time you throw it up there, yeah, why not? Go ahead and put one up. The worst thing that can happen is we get a rebound and we score on it. So certainly a nice outing for Louisville to begin the exhibition season, the only exhibition game of the year for them, as they had about 6,500, I'd say, in the KFC Yum Center. A very loud and appreciative crowd. Got to see some old friends and faces, and associate with some people, and just basically it was a good evening just to kind of be out there and saying, hey, it's back, baby. We're watching basketball.
The stat sheet says 6587 for attendance. I'm a little skeptical on that number.
I don't know if it was quite that big. I'm going to say maybe 6,000, but maybe not. The end zones were basically empty.
Yeah.
So. But still a good crowd out there, and then they switched it up a little bit this year just to give you all kind of an inside idea on this, where they actually bring the players over right after the game for the post game comments while Jeff Walls is doing radio. And Nick had warned me about it. He said, I'm going to have the players in there pretty quick. I said, okay, fine. I had to make a necessary stop before I went into the media room, and when I walked in, lo and behold, Haley Van Lith was talking already, along with Kiana Smith. So certainly maybe the delays from last season were addressed. But boy, they sure had them in there quick, Jared.
Yeah, but I'm going to blame it on the drugs you're on right now. But it was Chelsea Hall. All those in there, not Kiana Smith. That was there
No,
with
I was.
Haley.
Oh, I saw Kiana Smith over by the top. No, yeah, you were right. It was Chelsea Hall, which
Yeah, but they did get him quick. I mean, even for myself, I stick out on the floor till the end of the alma mater, and I head back. Barely had time to set my camera down and get a drink, and they were ready to go. And I'm thinking, wow, there's only 4 of us in here to start post game. Let's hang tight for just a moment as it kind of grew and expanded to what, 6 of us, including a couple videographers in the back by the end. I was like, huh. Not a
Yeah,
large media presence, which a
yeah, it was.
little disappointed in, but we'll see how that changes with the regular season.
Yeah, I think it should pick up some because the guy from the Courier is always going to be there. Eric Crawford's usually going to be there. Uh, Mr. Demlin is usually going to be in his little corner over there, and then you and me, and that was pretty much the media contingent for this one. But I'm sure that will grow as the season goes on. But guys, we are already at the noon hour here, so it's been a
Wow.
fun show, a fast show. We've covered a lot of good things. The Cards will be back in action on November 12th, just to let you know, on Friday when they go up to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, to play in the Invitational against Arizona. That'll be a fun one. Let's hope we get good linear coverage on that one too, fellas. I really hope we do.
Mhm.
Let's go ahead and segue on into final thoughts, and I'm going to go ahead and let's start with Case this week. Case, your final thoughts.
Sometimes when I have a final thought, I really like to go first so that it doesn't get sniped out from under me.
Cool.
Um,
Is that the case this week?
no, well, I get to go first, so it can't get sniped out from under me.
Case is the case. Okay.
Exactly. Nina Nakocha, named to the ACC All Freshman team. She's just the second UofL player to be named to that women's soccer ACC All Freshman team. And I would give you three guesses, and you'd only need one to know that the other player was Amina Ekic in 2017, who also wore the number 10 jersey. So if that is any indication, which I doubt that it is, but it could be some indication that Nina Kosha is here to put on some smiles on our faces, hopefully for the next 3 or 4 years.
We saw some very great moves for her on the pitch this season for sure, as she's going to be one of those bright and upcoming young stars. Jared, final thoughts.
Well, Case stole that. No, I'm joking. That was not going to be my final thoughts today. um, Honestly, it's just great to be back out at the KFCM Center and have media and have fans there again. And I really like what they've done with the new video boards there. I think it's excellent, and the new lights they've installed make our lives as photographers a lot easier. So if you haven't gotten to check out the new setup at the KFCM Center, I would highly recommend get out there, check it out.
Not a bad seat in the place in there if you're on the lower level, that's for sure. Especially with that new scoreboard. That thing is just it's like a monolith. It's massive. It's beautiful. Jeff, final thoughts?
Yeah, I get another short week at work today, so that's nice. Or this week, sorry. So, yeah, volleyball still in swing. Basketball getting started. It's just a really, really wonderful time of year for me to take really what are my two favorite sports and overlap them a little bit. Makes it a little busy at times, but it's a really wonderful time of year. I'll echo Jared. It was great to be back in the KFC Young Center after basically a year and a half of not having been in there. Um, yeah, it's a good time to be a Louisville fan. We got three teams that have a legit shot at a national championship, and it's possible that the deciding factor on which one gets it first is a question of scheduling more than their ability. So um, it's exciting time to be a Cards fan.
You got that with a capital Y. Yes, it
Mhm.
is indeed. As for me, final thoughts, it is Breeders' Cup weekend if you're a horse racing enthusiast. It is going on a great card that ran Friday at Del Mar Racecourse in California. And there will be count them, 9 Breeders' Cup Stakes races today out there. So I had a massive handicapping session this morning, and I'm not really sure what I came up with. I'm going to have to go back and look at my notes and see if I can cipher them. But it should be fun. Actually, I've already got my picks up. Go to Polly Picks if you want to see. That's Polly Picks to see who I've picked in the Breeders' Cup races. Let's hope I have as good a day as yesterday. And I hope that you all have a great day as well and have a great weekend. The sun's shining this morning. It's a little afternoon here in Louisville, and we're looking forward to a lot of fun things today. So, unless you know something we don't, we'll see you next week at 11 a.m. here on the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast.